Second Chances. Chapter 14.
The following day, David was awakened by the calm at the unbelievable hour of 0400 by the commander of Naval Base 17.
Captain, I've received your orders, back to the investigation of the destroyers. But I also have a personal request from Admiral Marovich that Admiral Holloran attend to the liaison with the compendium.
Roger, sir. I'll inform the Admiral. He will probably want to give him his decision, personally. Please forward our orders to my communications officer. Thanks. Sir, may I ask you a question?
Sure, ask away.
Why do our orders come through the naval bases rather than directly like other ships?
Captain, if I knew, I would tell you. I guess you're still not considered a ship of the line. I don't know. Maybe you should ask Admiral Holloran.
Okay, thanks. Stevens out. David called the watch officer and ensured that they had received the orders. He instructed the watch officer to alert the crew at 0730 hours. Then he settled back down and dreamed again of Stella, trying to grab those last few winks before the beginning of the duty day. Stella's dream figure berated David for abandoning her, and he awoke crying, "I didn't abandon you. I didn't abandon you." 0730, David went to the Admiral's cabin and thumbed the annunciator. Sherry answered the door and invited him in. He asked to speak to the Admiral, and she led him to a nook where Tim sat sipping a cup of coffee.
Can I get you some coffee, Captain?
Yes, thanks. Admiral, we have our orders. The ship is to continue the investigation into the destroyers. Admiral Marovich also asked that you lead the liaison team with the compendium. I told the Naval Base Commander that you would inform Admiral Marovich personally. If that's okay?
Great, I wanted to talk to Darian anyway.
Sir, would you ask why we are receiving our orders through the naval base and not directly like the other ships in the fleet?
I'll ask. I can't guarantee an answer, but I'll ask.
Thanks, sir. Well, I'll be going now. Got to get underway. Good morning. Ship and its crew were again stepping into that place where no man has gone before. After several hours, David relieved John in the command chair. As he watched, his crew worked together, a real team. This was the way he had dreamed it would be.
Captain,
Came the voice of Tori Abels.
the Admiral is on the con for you.
Yes, Admiral?
Dave, I talked to Darian about how we get our orders. He said that practice would cease. The Constitution is a ship of the line and will be treated as such.
Thank you, sir.
There's something else. May I come to your ready room to discuss it with you?
Admiral, you are always welcome. Holloran stepped out of the personnel lift.
Admiral on the bridge.
Carry on.
John, you have the con. Tim and David went into the ready room. The two officers sat opposite each other, and David looked expectantly at his superior. Holloran said,
Judging by the timing of the systems devastated by them, it will only take about 5 years or so before they approach our system.
5 years?
5 years. Our orders are to find them and stop them. By any means. Peacefully if possible, but...
I understand. David stuck his head out of the ready room door. John, the mission is more urgent than we thought. Pour it on. Ultralight 10.
Aye, sir. Helm, ultralight 10.
Ultralight 10, aye.
David stepped back into the ready room. He could feel the harness power of the mighty ship through his whole body. It was exhilarating. Holloran remarked,
I love the way this ship responds. I can feel the power. Man, I wish she were mine.
Would you like the con until we reach the compendium, Admiral?
Dave, you know I would. But don't throw me bones.
I'm not. I respect you too much for that. I can't give you a ship. This is the next best thing I can offer, sir.
Thank you, Captain.
By all means, relieve John. Stay as long as you like. I've got to talk to O'Reilly. The two officers enter the bridge.
Admiral on the bridge.
Carry on.
John, the Admiral is relieving you. You and I need to talk to O'Reilly. David and John stepped into the personnel lift, and Tim seated himself in the command chair, an expression of delight lighting up his face. Captain and First Officer smiled and dropped to the engineering deck. In the lift, David told John what the Admiral had told him about the destroyers heading directly for Earth. They reached the engineering deck. We'll talk later. Upon finding the chief engineer, David asked for some of his valuable time. With that, The three officers went to a nook on the main engineering deck that O'Reilly used as an office and sat to talk. O'Reilly, I've two things to ask you about.
I know one is Sherry's ship. Am I right?
Roger that. Have you found anything we can adapt to the Constitution?
Aye, Captain. There is a small plasma cannon aboard her. We can adapt what we know now to a much larger cannon.
Good. What are the limitations and the power requirements?
If we build such a cannon, we would be limited to a 15-degree radius aiming circle. The power requirements are actually minimal. We would need to build several accumulator banks that would charge up over time, taking as little as 5 amps of current to charge the accumulator over an hour. Our reactor is capable of charging an accumulator in a matter of 20 to 30 seconds. We only need to build a power bus specifically for the accumulators.
What sacrifice would we have to make to charge the accumulators?
Actually, none. The reactor already has twice the capacity needed to power the ship as she is today. The tricouple technology gives us that much more capability.
All right. How long would it take to build and install 2 cannons?
Why 2, Captain?
With the 15-degree limitation, I would want 1 forward and 1 aft.
Aye, building the cannons and accumulators would take about 3 months. To install them, if we were in a parking orbit for about a fortnight, we could install 1 cannon. So, I guess it would take about 3 weeks to a month to install both cannons.
Okay. Let's get started on that project. The second subject I wanted to ask you about is teleporting.
Through subspace. Aye, Captain. As Elle told you, we've got a temporary answer already built. The limitation is there has to be a subspace transceiver at both ends.
You say you have it built already?
Yes, sir, we have the 3 you asked for. It's a small subspace transceiver with a teleporter pad included. The unit weighs about 10 kilos and is the size of a large suitcase.
John interrupted.
We just take the unit with us on a landing party?
Aye, we just attach an antigrav unit if you'll be moving a lot. Otherwise, it sits around your command post. There is another alternative.
What's that?
If we really push the power on the transmitter, we can teleport to any place where there is an active subspace receiver. But we are still experimenting with that one.
O'Reilly, how long to modify our teleporters to use subspace?
It's already done, Captain. At least the ship's teleporters. We still need to modify the teleporters in the shuttles.
The cargo teleporter is modified as well?
Aye, sir. The work keeps my people out of trouble.
Captain O'Reilly, you're a wonder. Have you got any more good news for me?
Aye, sir. I have 3 couples that would like to get married.
That brings us up to 78 couples. We are the most romantic ship in the fleet. Maybe we should rename the ship the Love Boat. All right, make the arrangements and let me know when and where.
Thank you, Captain.
As David and John left for the bridge, David remarked, with all these weddings, I wish we had a chaplain aboard.
Well, Captain, that's a captain's duty.
Arriving on the bridge, the 2 officers observed the Admiral sitting in the command chair. He seemed more relaxed than he had since he had come aboard. Halloran saw the 2 officers and started to get up. David motioned for him to remain seated. Admiral, what's our status?
We are on course for the compendium. Ultralight 10. All systems green, Captain.
You look very relaxed, sir.
Dave, I have never felt better. When this mission ends, I'll ask Darien for my own ship.
Navigation. How long before we arrive at the compendium meeting place?
At this speed, sir, 3 days.
Good, carry on. Well, Admiral, John and I will be in my ready room. Call when you want relief. David and John entered the ready room and sat down.
Captain, what about the destroyers?
The way I figure, we had better search from Altaris outward toward Earth. The System Navy's estimate is based on the premise that Altaris was the latest attack. We must find out for sure. As we deliver the Admiral and his team, we will check it out. If the System Navy is right, we will continue investigating where we left off. John asked.
Captain, what about taking the time to allow Captain O'Reilly to build and install the Alterisi plasma cannons?
David thought, after we drop the Admiral and his party off, we'll pause at Altaris for the time needed to install the cannons. What do you think? John replied.
That's a plan. Let's do it.
At shift change, John stepped out and asked Beverly to talk to the captain. John John relieved the Admiral and waited for the remainder of the second watch. Beverly thumbed the annunciator at the door of the ready room. Enter.
You wish to speak to me, sir.
He told her about the things Admiral Halloran had told him. He also told her his plans after delivering the Admiral and his party. Please have Commander Sorrell wait for me tomorrow so that I can brief him, too. David and John left the bridge in Beverly's capable hands. As they continued down to the quarters deck, John said,
Captain, I'm going to have to make some assignment changes.
Okay. You're the first officer.
Yes, sir.
After they had arrived at the crew quarters, the captain and first officer parted. David entered his cabin and threw himself into the lounge chair to contemplate the mission. The ship entered standard orbit around the Compendium meeting place 3 days later. They noted that Armin Sigmatog's ship also sat in a parking orbit. At the Armin's invitation, Admiral Halloran and his party teleported to their ship to wait for the Compendium's negotiators. Having discharged his responsibility to the Admiral, David took the ship out of orbit. He swung around to retrace their flight to Altaris and beyond. Nearing Altaris, David touched base with Commodore Mendez. The restoration of the Altaris civilization was going well, slowly, but they had accomplished a great deal. David discovered that the atmosphere was well on its way to restoration. David told the Commodores need to enter a parking orbit to modify the Constitution. Commodore Mendez agreed to David's request. It took the 3 weeks that O'Reilly had estimated to finish the work. Taking his leave of the Commodore, David sped away back toward Earth to investigate the planets and systems between Altaris and Earth. It took only a few days to determine that the destroyers had not gone beyond Altaris. As the Constitution began moving toward the systems beyond Altaris and the Compendium, David ordered a constant yellow alert. He told his senior officers, it's about time for them to attack another system if their pattern is any indication. Beyond Altaris, beyond the Compendium, and onward, the ship sped at ultralight 10. As the ship approached the last system investigated, the ship's sensors gave an alarm. No less than 3 ships were hurtling toward them at ultralight 5. Helm, ahead slow.
Ahead slow, aye, Captain.
Science, what can you tell me? Jenny Olsen responded.
They are just in range, sir. I can only tell you the ships are huge.
Specify.
Sir, all 3 must be at least 3 miles across.
How can they push anything that size at ultralight 5? Stay on it, Jenny. The 3 ships approached and then began to decelerate.
Ultralight 3 and slowing, Captain.
All stop. Shields at maximum. All stop aye. Shields to maximum. Tori, ship to ship.
Ship to ship, aye.
This is Captain David Stevens of the United System Heavy Cruiser Constitution. Heave to. Then, just as David realized it, the 3 ships began a strategic maneuver. One ship began to turn to David's port side and below the Constitution. The middle ship slowed to a halt directly before the System Heavy Cruiser, and the third ship turned to the starboard and above David's ship. Obviously, these ships intended to attack. Again, David tapped his comm badge. O'Reilly, drop life support and pour the power into the shields.
Life support, Captain.
O'Reilly, if the shields fail, we won't need life support.
Aye, aye, Captain.
Helm, ultralight 6 any direction for 30 seconds.
Ultralight 6, aye.
The ship shot forward, leaving the enemy behind.
30 seconds, Captain.
All stop. Helm 180 degrees. We're going back. John, you're on lasers. Beverly, you're on the plasma cannon. I want to do an ultralight 6 flyby shooting as we go. As we pass the remaining operational ships, blast the one nearest the port side, John said.
Sir, we've never done an ultralight 6 flyby.
You will now. And we can't afford to miss. If we do, they'll be on to our strategy. That's why I want you and Beverly to man the weapons. Tori, ship wide, please.
Ship wide, sir.
Now hear this, this is the captain. We are engaging a numerically superior enemy, everyone is on their toes. We are going to do an ultralight 6 flyby, shooting as we go. Helm. Execute.
Ultralight 6, aye.
Jenny, let us know precisely where they are relative to assist the gunners.
Aye, aye, Captain.
The Constitution sped at ultralight 6 toward the enemy, gunners at the ready, the science station monitoring the massive ship's position relative. We're headed right between them. 4 seconds, 3, 2, 1. Fire. The second enemy ship disintegrated into a ball of flame. Again, David ordered, ship to ship. Heave to, or I'll blow you out of space. The third enemy ship turned and began to leave the scene at ultralight 5. David ordered all to stop. Tori, ship to ship. This is the Constitution prepared to be boarded. John, select your party and teleport over there. Environmental suits, personal shields, and heavy weapons. Bring those people back in irons. All hands, this is the captain, all senior officers to the bridge, please. David motioned them to the ready room as the senior officers arrived on the bridge. Beverly, brief them. Helm, chart that last ship's course.
Aye, aye, sir.
After 20 minutes, the senior officers left the bridge. John and his team teleported over to the ship. After a few minutes, he reported,
Captain, there are only 15 members of the crew over here. You will not believe what we found.
John, make sure that ship is disabled, and get those people over here into the brig. Leave 2 security crewmen for Sorrel. Tori, please call Commander Sorrel, I need his computer expertise. When he answers, I want to talk to him. Sorrel replied after a short pause.
Commander Sorrel, Captain, what may I do for you?
Commander, please teleport to the ship where John and his party are. I want you to download their computer system and analyze the data.
I am on my way, Captain.
Captain, this is John. We have teleported back. I left 2 security crewmen with Sorrel. We have put the crew in the brig, but I am bringing the commander to the bridge.
Captain to Commander Sorrel. Are you going to be able to download that data?
Yes, Captain. It will be completed in 10.3 minutes.
Good. When you are finished, teleport back. I want to pursue the third ship. About that time, the personnel lift door opened, and John stepped out with a humanoid robot in tow. This is what you found?
Yes, sir. But more than that.
To the robot.
Tell the captain who you are.
I am Commander Jenkins of the heavy cruiser Omega.
Commander? Jenkins? Commander, are you speaking your native language?
Yes, I am. I speak English.
John spoke up.
That's not all, sir. All the instructions on their ship are in English. The computer is very similar to ours.
Captain, this is Commander Sorrel. We have returned to the ship. I have their records. What analysis do you wish me to perform?
Commander, I want to know the location of their home planet. And while you're at it, update our star charts.
I'll begin immediately.
Helm, run down the third ship. Ultralight 12.
Ultralight 12I.
Commander Jenkins, tell me about those who created you. The race that had created these robots, according to Jenkins' memory chips, called themselves humans. They were an ancient colony of a planet called Earth. They had a thriving civilization and created the robot to ease their labors. They gave the robots any task that was dangerous or tedious. As time passed, they built better, stronger, more intelligent, more independent robots, always careful to ensure the robots' prime directives were to care for and serve humans. The robot commander told David that the creators had called their planet New Earth. Commander, if your prime directives are to care for and serve humans, why are you destroying life? What happened to your creators? The robot remained silent for a long time. Commander? Can you answer me?
Accessing data. The creators destroyed themselves.
How?
Insufficient data.
Why are you destroying rather than protecting life?
Insufficient data.
What is your prime directive?
My prime directive is to destroy. To care for and serve humans.
Repeat, what is your prime directive?
My prime directive is to care for and serve humans.
Execute your prime directive.
Executing.
Commander, explain your first response.
I had to reconcile the corrupted directive with the original directive. All confusion has been resolved.
Security, take the commander back to the brig. The helmsman reported sighting the third ship 300 kilometers ahead. Match course and speed. I want them to lead us to the home planet.
Match course and speed I.
Several hours later, Commander Sorrel reported that he had located the robot's home planet. The captain ordered the ship to intercept the last ship with all speed. Come alongside and fire a shot across her bow. The third ship slowed to a halt. John and his party teleported, disabled the ship and put the crew in the brig. The captain ordered that the other ship be towed while they proceeded to the robots' planet. Hour after hour, the powerful ship towed the larger ship toward New Earth. At the change of watch, Beverly Slater's self-assumed command as the captain went to the brig. Commander Jenkins, have your fellow crewmen access the original Prime Directive data in their memory banks?
Negative.
Commander, order them to do so now. The Jenkins robot turned to the other robots in the brig and ordered them to access the Creator's original Prime Directive. Captain Stevens ordered each robot to recite their Prime Directive, with the same results as the Commander. The Prime Directive is to destroy, to care for and serve humans. Execute your Prime Directive. Commander Jenkins, how are you and your crew powered?
We each have an internal matter-antimatter reactor. We have sufficient power for 1,000 years.
Good. Make yourselves comfortable. You're going to be here until we get the New Earth. Then we shall see. After a quick meal, Captain Stevens returned to the bridge. Beverly started to get up, but David motioned her to stay seated. He approached Commander Sorrell. Commander, how long will it take to get to New Earth?
Captain, I estimate 6 hours, 32 minutes at this speed.
Thank you. Beverly, I'll be in my cabin. Please call me when we are in the visual range of the planet.
Aye, sir.
After 6 hours, Beverly called him, and he returned to the bridge. Beverly reported the status of the ship and crew. All was normal. David took the command chair and waited. The planet steadily grew in the view screen when a group of ships appeared, moving toward the Constitution. Red alert. Shields. Weapons, standby. Tori, ship to ship. This is Captain David Stevens of the United System Heavy Cruiser Constitution. Heave 2. Hostile laser fire raked the Constitution's shields with no effect. Fire across their bow. The familiar whine of the ship's lasers echoed around the bridge.
No effect, Captain.
Choose a ship and knock out its engines.
Aye, sir.
The red glow of the ship's lasers reached out and caught the lead ship near the engine pod. The lasers continued to fire until the other ship's shield failed, and the ship was crippled. At that, the other ship slowed to a halt. Captain to security.
Security.
Bring the one called Commander Jenkins to the bridge.
Aye, sir.
Lieutenant Kiter, a burly Centurion, arrived on the bridge with the robot Jenkins in tow.
As you requested, sir.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Stand by. Commander Jenkins, I want you to talk to your people. Tell them to access the Creator's original Prime Directive.
I will do that. This is Commander Jenkins's approaching fleet. You are directed to access our Creator's original Prime Directive.
A voice returned.
Accessing. What is your Prime Directive? The voice returned, my Prime Directive is to destroy, care for and serve humans. Execute your Prime Directive.
The ships halted their advance. David asked Commander Jenkins, can you address your planetary leadership similarly?
I have.
Commander, I want my computer science officer to access your planetary computer system to see if he can find out what went wrong. Is that possible?
Negative. We have no planetary computer system. We are the only computer systems there are.
Is there any place we can investigate to find out why you began to destroy rather than protect?
Accessing. 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 The most ancient of us has transferred the necessary data. 1,000 years ago, there came an electromagnetic disturbance that garbled the Prime Directive in our active memory banks. We have not accessed our backup systems for over 1,000 years.
Have all your people accessed the Creator's original Prime Directive?
Affirmative.
Have all executed the original Prime Directive?
Affirmative.
Are you communicating with the others of your planet?
I am.
Are they able to understand what I am saying?
Affirmative.
How many planets and systems have you destroyed?
We have destroyed 1,265 planets.
What are you going to do about it?
What are your directives?
Why are you asking me?
You are the representatives of the Creators.
Then my directive is to do everything you can to undo the damage you have done, and to preserve whatever you can of the civilizations you have destroyed.
It will be done.
Lieutenant Kiter, have the prisoners teleported to their ship. Slater, release their ship. Lieutenant Kiter growled.
What is to keep these creatures from changing their prime directive again?
Good question, Lieutenant. But that is a problem for the System Navy and the Compendium. Not a mere heavy cruiser's captain. Commander Sorrell had integrated the New Earth robot star charts into the Constitution's computer system. David reported the data to Admiral Halloran and Commodore Mendez. At the Admiral's suggestion, the ship stood down from alert and spent 2 days with a skeleton crew so that the crew could relax a little. The senior officers led small landing parties to New Earth. They gathered as much data as possible in the time given to them. At the end of the 2 days, Admiral Halloran ordered the ship to return to the Compendium meeting point to pick him and his party up to report to the System Navy. The return trip could have not been more uneventful. They picked up the Admiral and his party and continued to Naval Base 13. At the naval base, Admiral Marovich arrived and presented the ship's commendation for a mission well done.